Some representatives in Congress as well as congressional leadership have responded to the declaration of a national emergency, with Representative Joaquin Castro saying, if President Trump declares a national emergency to fund his border wall, I'm prepared to introduce a resolution to terminate the president's emergency declaration. So that is a bill that we should probably expect in the near future. New Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez also said, Joaquin Castro and I aren't going to let the president declare a fake national emergency without a fight. And though we've already talked about how high of a bar you would have to pass to be able to overturn something like this, that is a fight that at least some in the House are apparently willing to engage in.
Yeah, so they would need, ultimately, obviously Trump wouldn't agree, 2/3 of both the House and the Senate to agree. Now there are a lot of Republicans, or some Republicans, who say they're concerned. On the other hand, Jeff Flake and Bob Corker told us they were concerned till they were blue in the face, and then they voted with Trump almost every time. So we'll see if Marco Rubio's concern turns into a vote against Trump. But can you really get enough Republicans in the Senate to turn so that you can get 2/3 of the Senate? Unlikely, but it is important for Congress to assert its role, and it's important for the Democrats to do their job and their constitutional duties. So that is exactly what they're doing here.
Yeah, and I would also say, we have, earlier this week, Mitch McConnell thought he'd come up with this clever idea where he would try to put Senate Democrats on the record on the Green New Deal, because that would embarrass them. They'd be scared off from voting for one of the most popular policies going around the country. Well, if they do choose to have these votes, if Joaquin and some co-sponsor in the Senate has it, then a bunch of Republicans get to go on the record saying, you know what, I am in favor of allowing the president to declare national emergencies when there is no empirical evidence behind them.
And that's right. And in a scenario where a progressive president comes in, there's actual national emergencies, although the Republicans do not agree to facts, we could use those votes and go, hey, you voted for a national emergency. So it's definitely a great idea.
Yeah, we also have a comment from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who says, the president's actions clearly violate the Congress's exclusive power of the purse, which our founders enshrined in the Constitution. The Congress will defend our constitutional authorities in the Congress, in the courts, and in the public, using every remedy available. Now, we just less than a month ago gave Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer a lot of credit for what they did during the shutdown. What are your expectations for how far Nancy Pelosi is willing to go to try to stop this from happening?
Well, look, to be fair to her, I'm not sure that she can go much further than introducing it. They vote on it, it passes the House. But the rest, I guess, is going to have to be citizen groups that are suing and bringing it to the courts.
Well, she can also file a lawsuit, and some are saying that she should, on behalf of Congress, saying don't take away our power. I do want to put my finger on another dynamic that's happening with this resolution, which has to do with progressive power in Congress. So in the early days of this new Congress, there was a real risk that people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, and others would be isolated from the rest of the Democratic caucus. We saw, we work a lot with Congress, and we saw the red to blue, kind of people that flipped red districts blue, folks becoming their own block and kind of pushing some of the blue district people to the side. And then Trump committed malpractice by doing the shutdown and uniting Democrats together. And you saw all these red to blue people being proud to march down the hall with Alexandria, in the Senate hallways, looking for Mitch McConnell, taking advantage of her bully pulpit, basking in the limelight with her. And it really built camaraderie and trust with among the caucus, right? Just this past week, the squad, Alexandria, Ayanna Presley, Rashida, and Ilhan, were again becoming isolated voices, saying we want to actually cut DHS funding, right? Cut money for this stuff. And they were only a few people on the sidelines. And now, because of this resolution, an aide today said, we've got people flooding in to support this resolution, meaning she is the tip of the spear uniting the caucus again. So Trump consistently is building her power when he doesn't mean to, which is great for long term for progressives.
Yeah. And they're showing that it's not that hard to fight. You can do it and you can win. For so long, Democrats have been afraid to fight Republicans, but what's gonna happen in the red districts or the purple districts? Just get into the fight and you'd be surprised how well you could do. Why do you think Ocasio-Cortez is so popular? Because she's in the fight. And now Ro Khanna's showing that you could win. They won on several different grounds, including the vote in Yemen. And look at these progressives that are now lions and leading right away. It's amazing what you could do if you just try.
I don't know. I read like a 5-tweet thread from Politico saying that secretly it's the moderate new representatives that are the most important.
Well, it is quite a secret.
I literally mean that. I saw that before I came on the show, but there has been that take like every 2 weeks since the election. And it's like, at some point, if you have to keep telling us how important they are, maybe they're not so important. I'm not saying that they can't do anything and they're welcome to support things like the Green New Deal, but if there's certain people who are out there proposing the ideas, fighting for them, changing the national conversation, at some point, Politico, it's not just that you're boosting people who are largely irrelevant, you are largely irrelevant. And it's not just Politico, it's a bunch of other outlets that want to convince you that all of these people who are helping to drive, I guess, the political evolution of the Democratic Party aren't secretly all that important. It's really these other people. Someday they're gonna make it. They're gonna make a big splash.
And think about, why would the press bother to take someone who's incredibly popular and constantly criticize them, and take people who are incredibly unpopular? I mean, or
not known.
Or not known.
Nothing against them.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I have things against them, but it's okay. It's okay. But they're not very popular. It's okay. And I'm glad that they're Democrats. I'm glad they're voting with us, and that's all wonderful. So when we have unity, that's great, right? But why is it the job of the press to try to build up these folks? I mean, so there is a bias there. There's a perspective there. Their perspective is the establishment is great. When are these progressives going to stop accomplishing all these things? Okay, and how can we secretly give credit to the conservative Democrats that didn't actually do it?
Yeah.
And that's a curious stance for a so-called journalism organization to have.
Yeah.
On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.